Giulia Paravicini is with me here. She's a reporter for Politico Europe, and she joins me now to talk about this. Giulia, you're learning some details about Salah Abdeslam. What do you know?
So we learned that between his capture on Friday evening and Tuesday morning when the attacks occurred, Salah Abdeslam was questioned only for 1 hour by investigators. Yeah, slightly more than an hour,
right,
but for sure not over 2 hours, which to us it's absolutely unbelievable. Investigators had evidence that his fingerprints were in a safe house. They had evidence that detonators were in this safe house, and they knew that there might occur new attacks. And all they asked Salah was about his involvement in the Paris attacks. This is absolutely shocking to us.
What are officials saying about the strategy in interrogating this guy? Why they only did this for an hour?
I wouldn't call this a strategy, or I hope it was not a strategy, because all they said was he was tired.
They did not say that.
They said he was
tired.
He was tired because the day before he had been captured and he had been shot in the leg, so he was recovering from the surgery. And so they didn't want to bother him too much. So 1 hour and then they let him go.
I mean, that's a question that a lot of people have about the security intelligence officials in Belgium, which is that it's not that they're too lax, but there seems to be a lack of communication, a lack of urgency. We're in the midst of what many people feel is an attack on the values of the West by the Islamic State. You capture the most wanted man in Europe, and they say that he's too tired to interrogate him?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There is for sure a lack of communication between intelligence services, but also among the different bodies of the government. The threat level on Saturday was at 3, so not at 4. And the people responsible to raising the level told us that they had not gotten any information about possible imminent attacks. So it means like communication is not working within the government.
Right.
And also on Saturday and on Sunday, both the Belgian and the French government were all praising themselves about the capture.
I was going to ask you about that. That seemed to me as if there was a lot of patting on the back.
Yeah, like the cooperation between our countries was great, super joint investigations team. But I mean, the hunt was not over. There were still suspects on the run, and we have seen what happened. So they should have nagged him, they should have interrogated him for hours, and possibly they could have maybe prevented or at least diminished the damage that occurred 3 days after on Tuesday morning.
All right, I don't want to second guess what officials are, law enforcement officials are doing, but then I wonder, it's a question that we had. You and I spoke on the phone during the raids that were occurring that brought in Salah Abdeslam. A lot of people said, how could Salah Abdeslam be the most wanted man in Europe, and for 4 months he's escaping, he's moving around, then he turns up in Molenbeek, the neighborhood that he spent most of his life in. And when I hear your reporting, which is that he was only interrogated for an hour, I wonder, it makes me wonder, and I think a lot of people are going to wonder, if perhaps there was not a sense of urgency by Belgian law enforcement officials to find him, that it took 4 months. And I think when you and I spoke, your reporting was that perhaps this might have been just a raid where they happened to find him, not one where they specifically targeted him and went after him specifically.
That's right. That actually was confirmed to us by several sources. They told us we thought it was a cold safe house because bills in that house had not been paid for months. So they went there with 6 officials, 4 of which got hurt in the raid, and they thought they might find someone, but for sure they were not expecting to be shot at. And 2 people escaped, one suspect died, and they were absolutely not prepared. They did not involve special forces into the raid. They had no idea that he was hiding there.
So what happens next? I mean, we know that there were several government officials who offered to resign today. The Prime Minister, Charles Michel, has for now said that he's not going to accept those resignations. What are you expecting?
I mean, I honestly don't know what to expect because every day something happens, but I think someone has to take responsibility for all the mistakes and the failures that have occurred. It's unbelievable. Like, all the things that happened since the Paris attacks clearly point to the fact that the government is dysfunctional. So whether the Ministry of Justice and Interior resign or not, something has to be investigated, and I think it's actually going to happen. But also they need to take tougher measures towards the way their police functions, the way their interrogations functions, and the way the government functions, because you cannot go on like this. It's clearly very dangerous for the citizens.
And that's certainly what a lot of people are saying. Giulia Paravicini from Politico Europe, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your reporting.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very, very much.